Recently, our winner was a couple going to Italy. They registered for an entire wheel of Parmesan cheese.
That's my kind of couple. What's up, Chillas? Today I'm here with Sara Margulis, who is the CEO and founder of Honeyfund, and we're talking all things registry and honeymoons. Sara, welcome to Bridechilla.
Thank you, Leah, so much for having me. I'm really excited to be talking to you today.
I'm excited to talk to you too, because I think you have a really awesome company and I love what you've been doing. And, doing some research for today's episode, because I like to, find little deep dives and stuff. I love that this got founded because of your journey with your husband. So kind of tell us about that and how you were inspired to create this.
Yeah, so we were, planning a wedding in 2004, 2005. We already had all the stuff we needed for our one-bedroom flat in San Francisco. And we were dreaming of a really fantastic honeymoon to Fiji, which it turns out is about halfway around the globe from San Francisco. And, it just sounded exotic. Honestly, that was like as much, destination choosing criteria that we had.
As exotic as possible.
Yeah, exactly. And so we started looking into it and we're like, oh, this is going to be pretty expensive. And we were paying for our own wedding. So we just created a makeshift honey fund for our friends and family to contribute to. My ex-husband is a software engineer. He was able to put it all together, let friends and family choose something to pitch in for, whether that was, flights to Fiji or, sailing around the islands or, excursions, whatever it was, our friends and family were able to pitch in, and they donated more than $5,000 to our trip.
Wow.
It was everything we wanted it to be. And more than that, they raved about the concept. They were just like, we wish we had this when we got married, or like, how can other couples do what you guys did? And being aspiring entrepreneurs with, complementary skills, software engineering and marketing, we just thought like, let's just create a site. So that's what we did. And we launched Honeyfund in the spring of 2006.
Wow. So you're coming up on 20 years.
It'll be 19 years this month.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Congratulations to you. That's incredible.
Thank you. I cannot believe how fast it's gone.
Well, I bet. But you've really changed the game and how people look at registries.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. It was really just what we needed. And I think just because we were one of the first to put it out there and make it doable for other couples, the trend was definitely like there, the giving the gift of experiences, people wanting to go out and have more experiences. Mind you, this is before iPhones and social media,
Well, you said on the website, and this was part of, I think, maybe like in your about section in that, but you had said that many couples won't take honeymoons because of the cost and all that. And so do you think, I think it's a lot different now, almost 20 years later, but do you think that there was a stigma or a fear with people to ask for contributions towards a honeymoon, just like there kind of is in similar vein with like just saying, just give me cash?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was the real challenge that we had to solve, was the etiquette of it. And so when we built the site, we really took care to make sure it felt like an online wedding registry and not like just dumping money into a pot.
Yeah.
We really thought through, what would feel comfortable for the couple to be able to go out and publish this to their friends and family, and what would feel comfortable to the giver to, to donate. And what we've heard most over the years from wedding guests is like, oh, wow, that was so fun. I wish I had that when I got married. And eventually the Emily Post Institute came out and said honeymoon registries are totally normal and fine. And, then crowdfunding became a thing. And, over the years, it's just become a lot more normalized, to the point where now you see certain like couples wedding websites with like a Venmo link, which I just feel a little bit like, oh,
I actually was kind of curious what you thought about that. People just like, come on, straight cash homie, send it to the Venmo. Like, I get why people want to do that, but I have that cringe face you do as well. It almost kind of seems, it's hard, right? Because you're kind of getting straight to the point, but there does seem to be a I guess vulgar is the only word I can think of. It's not vulgar, but there's like a line crossing to it.
It's just there doesn't really have any finesse, and I
Yeah,
do
good
feel
word.
like, I feel like, you're going to spend that money on something. It's more meaningful for the wedding guest to know what that is than just for it to be like they call it cold hard cash for a reason. It's not a warm
Yeah,
fuzzy, you know.
that's true. That's
So
a great
yeah,
point.
so we made the Honey Fund experience really fun for wedding guests and made it feel like they were contributing to something really meaningful instead of just giving money.
Yeah, I love that. And so, as an entrepreneur, what was your experience like being on Shark Tank?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So we had been humming along, helping couples for about 6, 7 years. And we got an email from Shark Tank. And I am not a fan of reality television at all. I immediately dismissed it as nothing I
So
would
you're
never
not going to be a
do.
Real Housewives of San Francisco or something?
Never, never in a million years. I can't, those shows talk about cringe. Like the entire time, I'm just like, ew, I can't do it. So we, immediately we're just like, we're not doing that. And then we talked to one of our board members who was like a really successful entrepreneur himself and a fan of the show. And he was like, this is really different from most reality shows. And it's like free advertising for your brand.
Yeah.
7 million people watch this show every Friday night. You guys really need to do it. And we were like, okay, well, when you put it that way,
Yeah,
I
it's true.
guess
Because
we'll
even if
go
they don't
ahead.
happen to pick your company to invest in, that's like
Hmm.
I said, there's 7 million people getting to watch that.
Yes, exactly. So we were, we spent many months preparing our pitch, making sure that we had all the stats of the business down, and walked into the tank, and under the lights and the cameras and the stress, managed to make a deal with Mr. Wonderful.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay, so Sarah, tell us about all the things that Honey Fund offers because it's more than just getting to book a honeymoon. There's a lot involved with like Trafalgar and deals from other companies like that. So share with us what we can do.
Yeah, so I mean, Honey Fund first and foremost is really flexible. You can use it for honeymoons, and that's primarily what couples use it for. But we also have a lot of couples that use it for home down payments and charity gifts, and paying off debt or whatever it is they need to start out their lives together. So we really kind of encourage couples to share whatever savings goals they have. And then, let's say you pick a honeymoon destination and you start building out your itinerary through in the form of your honeymoon fund registry. We also have many travel partners that will help you actually book that trip. One of our most popular partners is Sandals Resorts.
Oh, yeah.
We also work with Hilton, and they have a ton of all-inclusive properties which are really popular right now. And of course, U.S. honeymoon destinations are really popular right now. But the best honeymoon planning experience is yet to come. We're actually working on a
Um,
brand new system that will allow you to get much deeper into the actual discovery of things to do in your destination, finding the right deals for you, building the itinerary, and then having that kind of talk to your registry so that whenever you get a gift for a particular thing, it kind of like reminds you, like, hey, it's time to book this. You've got the money now. So we're really excited about bringing that to life later this year.
that's awesome. What a great scoop and what a great feature to have. I'm
Thank
a
you. Yeah,
planning nerd, so anything I can have to like give me
totally.
reminders and help me to organize better is
Yes.
chef's kiss. Love it.
And I mean, what's more dreamy and fun than travel planning? A lot of our
Yeah.
couples really love the reprieve from the stress of everyday wedding planning and everyday life that like honeymoon planning provides them. So that's a lot of fun. Just kind of like dream of, that magical moment when the wedding's all behind you and your husband and wife and the rings are on and you get to just step into your happily ever after.
Well, and two, you know, I think a lot of people don't realize, and you're not going to realize until you go through it, but there is this thing after the wedding where you kind of get this like little depression because you've been planning, whether it's 6 months plus, but especially if you've been planning a year plus, where you're like so in mode constantly of planning this thing and then it happens and then you're kind of like you get sad And there,
Yeah.
okay, I know I quote Friends on here all the time because it's my favorite show, but there was an episode. I did not know this was a thing until Monica and Chandler, like after their wedding, and she was upset because the wedding planning
Yeah.
was over because you get so used to it. So this
Yeah.
is a wonderful way to kind of still have something to plan and look forward to.
Absolutely. And a lot of couples now are taking their honeymoons a little bit later after the wedding, giving themselves some breathing room, maybe taking a different chunk of time off work so they can go longer, go farther. And so, yeah, I think it's great to have that to turn your attention to.
I think it's smart. What are the popular spots right now people are traveling to? What are the honeymoon destinations to look at?
Yeah, so we've seen a really steady rise of Japan over the last 6, 7 years in the top 10. In fact, Japan hit the top 5 this year for the first time in our database. We're also seeing US destinations increasing in popularity. In the past, you have obviously Hawaii has always been our number one destination, but Florida and California, have been strongholds over the last decade. But California's fallen out of the top 10, and we're seeing Tennessee coming into the top 10 this year.
Oh,
So I find that really fascinating that, couples want more of like a mountain experience, maybe a
yeah.
state that's a little bit less expensive.
And they put in
And then, of course, you
Nashville.
have Nashville
Yeah.
and Dollywood and all the fun stuff to do.
Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah,
love
so it's
Dollywood.
been cool. Yeah. And then we're also seeing, some sort of old staples kind of falling off in favor. Like I mentioned, California, but also like Jamaica's been kind of trending down over the last 6, 7 years. But Mexico fell out of the top 5, but still in the top 10, and a wonderful place to go. Just so welcoming to travelers. They're just really amazing when it comes to tourism, and I highly recommend it. They took care of me all through COVID, so Mexico has my undying loyalty forever because I couldn't stop traveling.
That's good. Do you think some of these places have fallen out and other places are gaining popularity just because people maybe already have vacation there prior to honeymooning, so they just want something different? Because before, maybe it was more trendy because people weren't taking vacations there. Maybe they were just doing their local family vacation spots or whatever.
Yeah.
So do you think that's shaking it up, or do you think it's just age demographics or?
I think there was definitely a big swell of travel coming out of the pandemic. People were cooped up, obviously, and not able to go places. And so when they did get the opportunity to travel again, they really kind of thought bigger. And so we're seeing farther away honeymoons and longer periods of time on your
Oh.
honeymoon. And Italy was kind of the first to really like pop up. I think that both Italy and Thailand getting more popular have to do with the show White Lotus.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of popular culture that plays into it. There's, where have your friends been? Maybe you want to go somewhere new that you've never seen anybody post on Instagram about. Social media is huge when it comes to like travel inspiration and, getting ideas from people that you know and people that you don't know, influencers that you follow. So yeah, there's so many factors that go into it, but I really do think that in general, people are really dreaming bigger right now when it comes to their honeymoons.
That's awesome. Is there any place that you would like to see trend more or more people go explore?
Ooh, I'm really interested in like Croatia and Turkey and that part of like Eastern Europe.
Mm-hmm.
I have never been, and it just there's so many really great like sort of islands, yacht kind of experiences to be had
Yeah.
in the waters over there that I think would be really, really fun
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
and affordable.
And affordable. Yeah, that's a big
Yeah.
one. So what has been the most surprising or unique honeymoon or just registry item in general that you've experienced with your company?
Yeah. So we actually play this game at Honeyfund. Every so often we'll get the team to like vote on the most unique registry item, and then we'll send a couple little prize, that they
Oh,
won
that's
the
cool.
contest. So, recently, our winner was a couple going to Italy. They registered for an entire wheel of Parmesan cheese.
That's my kind of couple.
Right?
That's awesome.
You cannot go wrong with cheese, especially Italian cheese,
No.
right? I know. but over the years, I've seen a lot of really creative uses of honey funds. We had a couple last year that used it for immigration fees.
Whoa.
One of the partners was having to come into the U.S. As part of getting married, and so that all became much more expensive than they realized. And when we kind of learned about their story, we ended up sending them on a honeymoon to Napa.
Oh,
So
that's
that because they
awesome.
could use their honeymoon money for their honeymoon. And then I've also seen couples do really creative things like one couple, they were marathon runners, so they did marathons around the world. We've had other couples who have used it for like fertility treatments or starting a family. And then we also had a couple who went on their honeymoon with Honeyfund about 10 years ago and has never stopped traveling ever since.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
helped
that was
inspire the bug, the travel bug.
totally, yeah. And they just like decided they weren't going to go settle down anywhere. They just wanted to travel for their lives. And I was like, dang, if you can swing that, I mean, more power to you.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've heard of people utilizing it, and I think it's wonderful to do IVF treatments, to adopt pets, to
Hmm.
put money towards a home. Are
Yep.
those things still trending upward or pretty much mainstay or not as
Yeah, I think
popular?
home down payments and home improvement projects have always had, pretty solid representation on our site. One thing that we are seeing trend more and more is actually the cost of the wedding itself. And this
Oh,
was something that we kind of launched as a category during COVID because people were having to, shuffle and rearrange plans after their traditional weddings were canceled. And it's become pretty popular. Like I think about 5 to 10% of couples that sign up for Honey Fund actually choose that category, which they can have alongside a Honey Fund honeymoon registry. But weddings are expensive, and
yes.
in general, couples are just they can't afford it. They're spending a lot less than they used to. Even though the averages aren't really moving, you've got a wider gap between like ultra rich weddings and more typical wedding costs in the
Yeah.
$10,000 to $20,000 range. So even though you still see averages in the 30s, it's not really representative of what's happening more typically. And then couples are spending more on their honeymoon because they want to go farther and they want to, go somewhere exotic, and their friends and family are helping cover the cost.
What do you see as the future for weddings and registries? Because you
Hmm.
have your fingers on that pulse of trends.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
where are we at with this? Because with the economy and
exactly. I do think that weddings are becoming more minimalist. I think that the minimalist wedding is trending.
yeah.
I think a lot of couples, again, it's out of necessity to some degree, just can't afford it, but also just really find that they want to make it really meaningful and unique to them, which doesn't look like a traditional big white wedding. It doesn't look like 150 people, half of which you literally never talk to in your daily lives. It looks like eloping to somewhere pretty, or destination weddings with 20 people, or an Airbnb for the weekend with your best friends and your parents, or um, you know traveling sort of, having a courthouse wedding and then traveling across the country to visit the friends and family that you want to see and have celebrate you in this time. So yeah, there's a lot of really cool things happening out there, and I think it's the right move
Yeah.
financially for couples who. I mean, I think I did the math at one point, and if you invested $30,000 on the day you got married, it would be worth $1.2 million at retirement.
Wow. That's fascinating.
Isn't that like it puts it in a whole nother perspective?
It really
Like,
does.
yeah, that you're going to drop that much money on one day.
And it's so hard because especially if you've dreamt of it your whole life. But
Yeah,
then, I mean, when you've been
yeah,
through it, as we've been through it, like
yeah, yeah,
you learn what's
yeah,
kind of worth it and what's not worth it in the end, which is what we try to
yeah.
help you with here on Bridechilla. Like, we want you to still
Absolutely.
have your dreams and do you. This isn't trying to yuck a yum, but like,
No, not at all.
we also want you to have the best day ever, but not be in debt and not have as many regrets as humanly possible.
A
We
hundred
can't
percent.
save you and save every issue, but like if we can just drop this little nugget to like
Yeah.
really think about what you're spending that money on. Still
Yeah,
like do you and have your dream stuff, but the there are so many extras that you will find in the future will not be worth it. So watch where that penny is going.
exactly. Yeah, and I think the wedding industry kind of people tend to err on the side of like spending too much and doing too much because they're afraid if they don't, something will go wrong or they'll regret it forever. But really, something will go wrong. Every wedding, something goes wrong. That's
Yeah.
just the nature of an event.
Yeah.
And so you really don't have to like spend more than you're comfortable with to try to prevent that from happening because it's going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
What you can do is like think about how much money do we want in our bank account on day one of our marriage?
Mm-hmm.
What's the next thing we're going to be financially planning for that we want to have, some amount of money to kind of like start off with? Then you back up from there and you pick a number that you're both comfortable with. And having that financial discussion can be hard, but it's one of the super important skills of marriage.
Yeah.
And you have an opportunity to practice it during your wedding planning. And so do it. I mean, sitting down with each other, hey, how much money are you comfortable with on this thing? If you have a huge disconnect there, you either got to work through that, or maybe it's not a good fit.
Yeah.
That's another kind of
You could
testing
discover a
ground
red
for
flag.
the relationship. You could discover a red flag. Exactly. And then being able to take that conversation to in-laws and like set up boundaries around family and friends and their opinions and their, these are all incredible like opportunities to practice relationship skills and marital skills.
Absolutely. And that kind of goes into my next question for you, which is, since you started Honeyfund, have you heard from couples or have you just like seen examples of how having these financial discussions over just choosing what's on your registry and how to spend that money you're going to get from people, has that helped couples that you've worked with?
Oh yeah. I mean, we've heard from couples who, you know, one of the partners didn't want to go on a honeymoon, had never traveled, was nervous about flying, didn't want to go overseas. And they worked through it and ended up going to the UK for their honeymoon. And then out of that experience, both fell in love with the UK and ended up buying a B&B in the UK and moving there and like setting up their whole
What?
life around this B&B. Yeah. I mean, like incredible things can happen when you're willing to kind of stick with it and work through it, because what you create out of that process is something completely new and different than you ever could have imagined. And that's the beauty of a relationship, is that it's not just me and my opinion and you and your opinion, but it's like the two of us together and what we can create that was never there before. And you got to do it. It's so fun.
Yeah. And I know how scary the finance talk can be because I was always a nervous wreck about it, and I think having that conversation with my now partner really, really made our relationship blossom even more than it already was, because getting through those harder conversations, you learn so much, not only about each other, but about yourself. And when you're having to face like what you spend money on and how you're going to do it jointly, it's a lot, but it's wonderful at the end of the day. If done right. If done right.
Totally. And I mean, that you're doing it right if you're willing to have the tough conversations and you're willing to stick with it and not crawl into your shame bubble or like, be too overly judgy of the other person's. Just treat it as like a curiosity. Like, okay, we're going to sit on the same side of the table and we're going to look at this opportunity or this problem and we're going to work it through it together and we're going to get to some kind of solution, versus like it's my opinion versus theirs.
Yeah, you're a team.
And yeah, you're a team, and everything you're going to do in life, all the decisions you're going to make, having kids, paying for, all the things that you have to pay for with kids, college and everything.
Yeah.
Their wedding someday, grandchildren, like this is a lifelong, game that you got to play with each other. And so why not start out of the gate, with some really strong experience behind you.
You have to get uncomfortable to get comfortable.
Yes. Oh my God. I love that. That's a great phrase. I'm going to use that.
Thank you. So you had mentioned like City Hall and then the longer trips and that. With the rise of elopements and micro weddings, how are you seeing that affect registries?
Well, I don't know about registry in the whole. What I'm seeing that affect is honeymoons and the adoption of Honeyfund, because we can obviously help couples make their honeymoon happen. I think just in general, like with anything, couples just today have way more choices.
Mhm.
Wedding registry used to be, your local department store, and then it was like, Macy's and Bed Bath and Beyond. When we started Honeyfund, Bed Bath and Beyond was the number one registry in the country.
Yeah.
Well, now they don't exist.
Yeah.
And Amazon is the number one wedding registry in the country. So, things have changed a lot. And I think it's just what all of that has been trending toward is just more choice. And, couples being able to set it up and have it work for them exactly how they want it.
Do you think too, with like your situation, right? And
Mm-hmm.
in my past life, I was married. It was the same thing. We lived together first and for a while. So you technically didn't need to register for a lot of things,
Mm-hmm.
so why not have experiences? And do you think that's just more
Yeah,
common now? And that's why it's less of the KitchenAid mixer and more of the let's go to Fiji?
for sure. Yeah. I mean, we couples already have everything they could possibly need. I mean, what can you not get from Amazon and have it delivered to your door in 2 days and,
Right.
you know, get the best price possible? You could even get a KitchenAid on eBay for $50 if you want one. Like, I think because everything's easier to get and cheaper, there's no need for, you know, the the things that we used to put on a wedding registry. I do encourage couples, if they do want to some tasteful upgrades, like let's say you want a nice espresso machine that you would never have bought for yourself, or you really could use a new set of sheets and you want to splurge on the high thread count or whatever. Yeah, have a traditional registry and put that up, link that to your honey fund. We work with all of the registry partners so that you can do that. But don't be afraid to put your honey fund first and make sure your friends and family know that the gift of this experience is what's really truly going to be meaningful to you.
We touched upon etiquette earlier. Is there anything else with etiquette that couples should be aware of when they're signing up for these registries and putting it all together?
Yeah, I think we did touch on it around kind of the Venmo QR code or whatever. But what we tell couples is, try to make a list of all the things you're going to do on your trip, because that's what's fun for the givers to shop.
Oh,
And then when instead you can set up your honey fund just to be like a general contribution. But the more specific you get with your list and bringing that trip to life for your friends and family, the more fun they're going to have contributing to it. And then ultimately that works out to more money, for the trip. And when you share it out, we have all the advice you need on how to share your honey fund, but we say, link it, send the link to your honey fund page to your friends and family. It doubles as a one-page sort of wedding website. Or if you have a more built out site, you can link it there. We have registry cards you can print out to include as inserts with your invitations. We also have QR code like printables that you can put up at a gift table at the wedding for people who maybe didn't get around to buying a gift or didn't realize, your honey fund was your number one thing. And, just treat it like any other wedding registry. That's really the trick, because people understand that they have a paradigm for that they're used to. So it fits right in.
you have a lot of great resources on your website, because I was looking at like different blog
Thank
posts
you.
and just different articles that you can even look at to get more inspiration in that. So it's a really well done website.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
And this is not a sponsored post. Like, this is literally like,
Yeah. Yeah,
like,
thank you.
I genuinely think you did a really beautiful job with your website.
Thank you. I got to give it to our art director, Amanda, for some beautiful brand design, and the whole marketing team for all the content that you see. The Honey Fund blog really didn't even exist until the pandemic, and all that content, has been a labor of love over the last 5 years. And, we all just really care about, our mission is to make honeymoons happen. That's what we care about. And we want the happily ever after for couples. And so that's why, we do what we do every day.
Any favorite stories? Do you have a favorite couple or a story?
There's so many.
Or at least one standout one to share?
Yeah. So we had a couple who, they were acrobats, and they didn't want to have a traditional wedding, but they wanted to travel. And so they got themselves internet ordained and had like 7 weddings around the world in different like beautiful locations. And they they would marry each other again in every spot and then take pictures of themselves doing like acro yoga in front of like the pyramids or whatever. Like they
Oh
were just
my
like
gosh.
incredible. And the Good Morning America found out about their story and ended up hosting their last wedding for them in Times Square on GMA. So it
Oh
was a
my
pretty cool.
gosh, that's so cool.
Yeah, they were pretty cool.
Any final piece of advice when creating your registry or booking your honeymoons before we get to the lightning rounds?
Yeah, I would just say, when you're choosing your honeymoon destination, just be willing to have a really open and honest conversation. Somebody might have been dreaming of going to Fiji forever, like I did, but somebody else might really want to go to Yosemite or, some other national park. And there's ways that you can, you know, find a sweet spot or, end up having multiple trips. Um, there the sky's the limit when it comes to travel, and you have a lifetime of love together to go out and travel and celebrate that anniversary or that milestone birthday. And we're actually um, setting up Honeyfund so that you can use it for those subsequent life events. So
Oh, that's
don't be too worried
awesome.
about don't be too worried about not getting your dream destination on your honeymoon, because there'll be more honeymoons to be had throughout your married life.
How about for singles that, they don't know if they'll get to be married, but they want to have the experience? They can use it for their birthday or for like hey, I'm just marrying myself. I want this dream. Who wants to help? Like a GoFundMe, but with Honey Fund.
Right. Yeah. I love that idea. And, we have seen couples or people asking us for functionality like that. Right now, we're really focused on couples.
Yeah.
But as the site evolves and as we handle more life events like that, I can absolutely see supporting that.
I love the idea with anniversaries and that, though. That's awesome. And actually, just quickly before we get to the other stuff, you had said someone might want Yosemite and someone Fiji. Would you recommend putting both up and then doing one maybe as the honeymoon and then one months later the next year? And, people can keep contributing to it for like birthdays and stuff like that. Keep it open. You don't have to shut it down, right?
Yeah, we have couples that will do like a mini moon right after the wedding and then plan a much bigger trip for, a year or two later when they have more breathing room from time off work or whatever. And yeah, I love that idea. I think my vision for the future of Honey Fund is a site where you're constantly planning your next trip and your friends and family can see what you're planning and contributing ideas and, sharing where they've been in that destination, and that everybody is like kind of in a world of like dreamy travel together.
Oh, that's so great. So like your honey fund doesn't have to end like as
That's
soon as
right.
you take your honeymoon. You can leave it
That's
open
right.
and keep dreaming.
Exactly. I love
Oh,
that.
I love it. Okay, so speaking of love, this is the love hate. It's the fuck it bucket. I'm going to say a wedding related thing, and you say yay or toss it in the fuck it bucket. All right?
All right.
Doing something old, new, borrowed, blue.
Yay. I like traditions, and that one doesn't cost any money, so just keep doing it.
I like that. Kids at weddings.
Personal choice. Some people have really big families and a lot of kids and nieces and nephews, and those people are really important to them. Other people, have a whole friend group and only some people have kids and they don't want kids at their wedding. So I think you got to really
You're just
sit
in
down and
between.
talk. You got to talk that out. It's a personal choice for sure.
Yeah. It doesn't bother you if they're there or not when you attend.
No, it doesn't bother me. No. I had my kids, I raised them. They don't bother me. But before I had kids, I didn't want kids at my own wedding.
But now that you've been through it, you're like, it's fine. Yeah. Readings during a ceremony.
Readings. Yay. I think that, making your ceremony very personal to you and sharing something, whether it's a scripture or a poem or something that really resonates with you and speaks to the nature of your love with each other, is a beautiful way to kind of like pass that feeling on to your friends and family.
Aww. That's so sweet. People proposing at weddings.
No, F that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have it. No, yeah. It's not your day. I'm sorry. It's just not your day. Unless it's like something that you've cleared with the bride and groom before and they're so excited and into it. But I would say that's a very rare rare circumstance.
Yeah, agreed. Holiday weddings.
Oh, this is a tough one. I would say Christmas and New Year's, F that. Um, any other holiday, Memorial Day, Labor Day, whatever, sure. Make it a weekend for your wedding guests. Let them kind of tack it onto a day off they already have from work. Yeah, go for it.
Receiving lines.
Depends on how big your wedding guest list is,
Mm.
because that can get really tedious and boring for guests to be standing in a line for that long.
Destination weddings.
Yes, all the way. Putting the travel and the weddings together, it's a great way to cut down on your guest list because not everybody can travel. And also do something really unique and different. And then you tuck on your honeymoon because you've already flown somewhere. It's awesome.
Wedding hashtags.
Yay. Love them. Absolutely. We have a wedding hashtag generator on Honeyfund that you can use to like create your personalized Honeyfund URL.
Oh,
and
that's cool.
I think it's so much fun. Yeah. Let's go.
I think they're kind of here to stay. I think it's beyond
a
trend. I think it's just become the norm now.
Oh yeah. I mean, social media and hashtags and everything, it allows us to play with language so much. And again, it's just a fun expression of your love.
I'm gonna go play on it later. Reception games.
Ooh. If they're optional, yay. Mm-hmm. Some people like games.
If it's forced.
I've never been to a wedding where that was an option. So maybe ask me again after I've done that.
Yeah. And when I say reception games, like it's kind of broad, right? Because there's like the bride and groom or, the couple in the middle of the thing with the shoe that you're, watching them play that game. Or if it's an outdoor event, there's the yard Jengas and that kind of stuff. So
yeah, I mean, having things for your guests to do, especially during down times when you're taking your photos or if there is a reception line or whatever. I love that. But like some kind of organized, other than the garter toss and the bouquet toss, I feel like that would.
How do you feel about the garter and bouquet toss?
I haven't really like thought about it from a sort of modern perspective. I'm sure there's some like really troublesome, like, underlying like history there that we like probably don't want to, but I mean, I think the bouquet toss is cool. Garter toss is a little, I don't know, it gets a little risque, but I think the bouquet toss is totally cool.
Matching bridesmaids dresses.
Sure. I mean, I like the mixy matchy kind of vibe that has gotten really popular the last, I don't know, decade. But yeah, I think matching is fine as long as it suits. It really comes down to who are your bridesmaids and what their needs are, right?
Yeah.
If that style suits everyone and you want them all to match, cool. If it's like one person's going to stand out like a sore thumb, I don't think that's fair.
Last one, line dances.
I love line dancing.
I call it wedding Zumba.
Wedding Zumba, yeah.
Wedding Zumba.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if we're not doing a Macarena, are we actually at a wedding reception?
It's true. All right. Final question. Sarah, what is your all-time favorite celebrity and or royal wedding?
Okay, this one, I'm gonna go a little far out, but my favorite like famous wedding was Harry and Meghan. And the reason why was the sermon. And the sermon was so touching and meaningful. And the bishop was talking about the power of love and how humanity, we've harnessed the power of fire, and look at what we've been able to do with that. All the industrial revolution, all the technological revolution, everything that with AI, everything we're doing now is because we were able to harness the power of fire. If we could harness the power of love the same way, imagine how different our world could be.
That, I forgot how beautiful that was. And I'm so glad you brought that up. Because when that comes up, it's usually about the dress. Like it's not, that is such a wonderful perspective on that wedding and just the power of love in general, which Huey Lewis is now going to play in my head. But
I know. I've given it to Bishop Curry for that. Amazing. And I really think it's poignant today with so much like the way the algorithms just drive division and hatred, like we got to get the love in there and we got to like really harness it and really believe in it and choose it. And that's why I love doing what I do, because I'm in the business of love.
Sara, you are a gem, and I'm so glad that you came on today.
You.
Thank you for sharing your story and your advice with us. And how can we get more information on you and Honeyfund?
Yeah, well, honeyfund.com. We have apps in the app stores, and you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok, as long as TikTok's around. And LinkedIn, if you're, in the wedding industry, we'd love to connect with you. We have a lot of really great perks for wedding vendors. We don't charge wedding vendors to advertise to our couples. We have a free wedding vendor directory and, some printables and things that you can take so that you can help your couples expand their wedding budget and do more with the help of their friends and family.
That's incredible. Well, thank you so much, Sara, and look forward to talking with you again soon.
Thank you, Leah. It was such a great conversation.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode.